The transport ship hummed softly as it approached the massive Galactic Federation Military Academy station. Lieutenant Hana Kim pressed her face against the viewport and watched the structure grow larger with each passing second. The station was enormous. It looked like a small city floating in the darkness of space. Lights blinked across its surface like thousands of tiny stars. Hana felt her stomach tighten with nervousness. She had been training for this moment for 3 years. 3 long years of simulations and tests and proving herself again and again. Now she was finally here. She was about to join Talon Squadron, one of the elite combat teams in the entire Federation. The problem was simple. Nobody wanted her there. The transport docked with a soft clang. Hana grabbed her small bag and made her way through the corridors of the station. Other soldiers passed by her. Some were tall blue-skinned Velkari warriors with 4 arms. Others were the quick-moving Quellan scouts with their cat-like features. She even saw a few Kryn strategists with their large heads and calculating eyes. When they looked at her, they did not smile. Some stared. Others whispered to each other. Hana knew what they were thinking. She was human. Humans had only joined the Federation 20 years ago. In galactic terms, that was like yesterday. Most of these species had been fighting wars for hundreds of years. Some for thousands. Hana was young. She was small compared to the Velkari. She did not have the enhanced reflexes of the Quellan. Her brain could not process tactical data as fast as the Kryn computers could. She was just human, and in the eyes of the galaxy that meant she was weak. She found the briefing room exactly on time. The door slid open and she stepped inside. 5 beings turned to look at her. 4 were her new squadron mates. The 5th was Wing Commander Val. Val was Velkari. He stood almost 3 meters tall. His blue skin seemed to glow under the lights. His 4 arms were crossed over his broad chest. When he looked at Hana, his eyes were cold. "This is Lieutenant Hana Kim. She is your new pilot." Vale's voice was deep and rumbling. The other pilots exchanged glances. Commander Rix was another Velkari. He was covered in scars from countless battles. He looked Hana up and down and frowned. Pilot Thess was Quellan. Her movements were quick and graceful. She tilted her head and her whiskers twitched with what looked like amusement. Weapons Officer Dorn was Kryn. His large eyes blinked slowly as he studied Hana like she was a puzzle to solve. A human. Rix's voice was flat. "In Talon Squadron, yes." Vale uncrossed his arms. "Command has assigned her to us. She will fly support position." Support position was the safest spot in any formation. It was where they put rookies. It was where they put pilots they did not trust in real combat. Hana felt her face grow warm, but she kept her expression neutral. She had expected this. "Lieutenant Kim." Vale turned his cold gaze on her fully. "You have acceptable scores in simulation, but simulation is not real combat. In Talon Squadron we have standards. We have protocols. We follow Federation combat doctrine exactly. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir." Hana kept her voice steady. "Good. Your fighter is in Base 7. Report there at 0600 tomorrow. We will run formation drills. Dismissed." Hana saluted and left the room. Behind her, she heard Rix's voice rumbling in complaint. She did not need to hear the words. She knew what he was saying. She had heard it all before. The next morning came quickly. Hana arrived at Base 7 early. Her fighter was beautiful. It was sleek and silver with the Talon Squadron markings on its wings. She ran her hand along the smooth hull. This was why she was here. In a fighter, she felt free. In a fighter, she felt powerful. The other pilots arrived. They did not speak to her. They went through pre-flight checks in silence. Hana did the same. She knew every system in her fighter. She had studied the manuals until she could recite them from memory. All fighters launch. Val's voice came through the comm system. "Standard formation. Kim, you will hold rear position. Do not deviate from protocol." The fighters launched into space. The Academy station fell away behind them. Ahead was an open training zone filled with holographic obstacles. The simulation was designed to test their coordination and skill. Vale led them through the course. His orders were precise and exact. Rix flew on the left wing. Thess took the right. Dorn held center position. Hana flew in the rear watching the others. The course was difficult. Holographic asteroids appeared suddenly. Enemy fighters flickered into existence and attacked. But Val had flown this course hundreds of times. His orders anticipated every challenge. The squadron moved like a machine, efficient, predictable, safe. They were halfway through when Hana saw the problem. 3 enemy fighters were coming in from above. Val had not seen them yet. His attention was focused forward. If those fighters got into position, they would have a clear shot at Dorn. Hana made a decision. She broke formation. Her fighter rolled and accelerated upward at full thrust. The G-forces pushed her back into her seat. She ignored the discomfort. She had seconds to act. She came up behind the enemy fighters and fired. Her shots were perfect. All 3 holographic enemies exploded into pixels. The threat was eliminated. Kim, Vale's voice was sharp. "What are you doing?" "Sir, 3 enemies were coming in at Vector 7 Mark II. I eliminated the threat. You broke formation. You violated protocol. That is unacceptable. But sir, the shot was clean. I saved Dorn from being hit." There was silence on the comm. Then Val spoke again. His voice was ice cold. "Return to base now." The squadron flew back in silence. When they landed, Val ordered Hana to the briefing room. The others filed in behind her. Hana stood at attention while Val paced back and forth. His forearms moved in agitation. "You think you are clever?" Val stopped and stared at her. "You think because you made a lucky shot that you can ignore orders. Let me tell you something, Lieutenant. Combat is not about individual heroics. It is about discipline. It is about following the plan. When pilots think they are smarter than their commanders, people die. Sir, I was just trying to help. You were showing off." Vale leaned down so his face was level with hers. "Humans always do this. You think you can improvise your way through everything. You lack discipline. You lack the experience of species who have been fighting wars since before your planet had spaceflight." Hana felt anger rise in her chest, but she pushed it down. She knew arguing would only make things worse. "You will fly the next 10 training runs in support position. You will not break formation. You will not deviate from orders. You will prove to me that you can follow simple instructions, or you will be removed from this squadron. Am I clear?" "Crystal clear, sir." Dismissed. Hana saluted and left. In the corridor, she leaned against the wall and took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, from frustration. She had made the right call. She knew she had. The shot had been clean. The enemy fighters would have caused damage, but it did not matter. She was human. She was the outsider, and no matter how good she was, they would never see her as anything but a liability. That night in her quarters, Hana stared at the ceiling. She thought about going home. She thought about requesting a transfer. Maybe Vale was right. Maybe she did not belong here. But then she remembered why she had joined. She remembered watching the war reports. She remembered seeing good people die because they did not have enough skilled pilots. She remembered promising herself that she would help, that she would make a difference. So she would stay. She would follow their rules. She would fly support position. She would be patient. But deep down, Hana knew something they did not. When real combat came and things went wrong, the rulebook would not save them. Improvisation would. Creativity would. Thinking fast and adapting faster would. She just hoped she would get the chance to prove it before it was too late. 2 weeks passed slowly. Hana flew every training mission exactly as ordered. She stayed in formation. She followed every command. She did not deviate even 1 degree from protocol. It was boring. It was frustrating. But she did it anyway. The other pilots began to ignore her. To them, she was just another body filling a slot. Commander Rix never spoke to her unless required. Pilot Thess barely acknowledged her existence. Even Dorn, who seemed the most curious about humans, eventually stopped asking questions. Hana spent her free time in the simulator. She practiced maneuvers that the Federation did not teach. Tight rolls through narrow spaces. Quick direction changes that used every bit of her fighter's capability. Combat scenarios where the rulebook would get you killed. She practiced alone. Always alone. On the 15th day, everything changed. Hana was in the squadron ready room checking her flight logs when the alert sounded. 3 sharp tones that meant immediate assembly. She grabbed her helmet and ran. The briefing room was packed. Not just Talon Squadron, but several other elite teams as well. Hana found her place at the back and stood at attention. Wing Commander Vale entered, followed by Fleet Admiral Kess. The Admiral was Velkari like Vale, but older. His blue skin was marked with the scars of 100 battles. Listen carefully. Admiral Kess's voice filled the room. "We have a mission that will change this war." A holographic display lit up the center of the room. It showed a space station surrounded by a massive field of debris. The station looked like a fortress. Weapons platforms covered every angle. Patrol ships moved in careful patterns around it. This is Helios Station. The Admiral gestured and the image zoomed in. 2 weeks ago, the Vrex Collective captured it. The station contains encrypted intelligence about our fleet movements and defense positions. If the Vrex decode that data, they will know exactly where to strike us. They will know our weaknesses. The room was silent. Every pilot understood what that meant. The Vrex were already winning the war. If they got that intelligence, the Federation would be crushed. We need that data destroyed or recovered. Admiral Kess's eyes swept across the assembled pilots. 3 squadrons have already tried. All 3 failed. Total casualties.
No survivors. Hana felt cold spread through her chest.
Total casualties. That meant every pilot dead. Talon Squadron, you are our 4th attempt. The Admiral looked directly at Val. You are our best team. If you cannot do this, then we will have to destroy the entire station from range. That will take time we do not have. The Vrex will finish decoding within 72 hours. Val stepped forward. Show me the approach vectors. The hologram changed. It displayed several possible routes through the debris field toward the station. Red lines marked where the previous squadrons had been destroyed. The debris field is the key problem. Admiral Kess pointed to the glowing rocks and metal fragments. It is thick with wreckage from old battles. The pieces range from the size of your fist to the size of a building. They are in constant motion. Navigation is extremely difficult. What about sensors? Vel studied the display carefully. The Vrex have placed sensor nets throughout the field. If you move too fast, you will be detected. If you move too slow, the shifting debris will crush you. The previous squadrons tried to find a balance. They failed. Hana leaned forward, studying the hologram. She could see the problem. The approved approach vectors all use the same basic strategy. Slow, careful movement along the widest corridors through the debris. It was logical. It was by the book. It was exactly what the Vrex expected. What about the station defenses? Commander Rix asked. Heavy. Admiral Kess pulled up another image. Automated turrets. Elite shock troops. Multiple patrol ships. Once you reach the station, you will have perhaps 90 seconds to locate the intelligence vault and extract before reinforcements arrive. The room fell silent again. The mission was suicide. Everyone knew it. But someone had to try. You have 6 hours to plan. Admiral Kess turned to leave. Launch at 1400 hours, dismissed. The other squadrons filed out quietly. Talon Squadron remained. Vale called them to gather around the holographic display. We will use approach vector 3. Vale pointed to one of the red-marked routes. It is the widest corridor. We will move in standard tight formation. Des, you will scout ahead. Rix, you take point. Dorn, center position. Kim, you hold rear guard. Hana stared at the route. It was the same path the 2nd Squadron had used. They had been torn apart by Vrex interceptors hiding in the debris. She could see it clearly in the tactical data. Sir, Hana spoke before she could stop herself. Vector 3 is compromised. Val turned slowly to look at her. Explain, the 2nd Squadron used that route. The Vrex anticipated it. They stationed ambush ships at these coordinates. Hana pointed to 3 locations. If we use the same approach, they will be waiting for us. Then we will fight through them. Val's voice was hard. Sir, we could use the debris field itself. If we take a tighter path through the smaller gaps, we could cut 40% off the mission time. The magnetic interference from the metal fragments would hide us from their sensors. Val stared at her. The other pilots looked between them. Finally, Val spoke. The gaps you are suggesting are too narrow. Federation doctrine requires minimum clearance of 15 meters. These gaps are less than 5 meters in places. Our fighters can handle it, sir. Hana pulled up the technical specifications. The hull width is only 3.2 meters. With proper piloting, we can thread through. Proper piloting. Vale's voice dripped with sarcasm. You mean the kind of reckless flying that you demonstrated in training? The kind that breaks formation and ignores orders? No, sir. I mean precise flying. Calculated risk. We would be trading the danger of Rex ambush for the danger of debris impact. But at least we would control that danger. Rix laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. The human thinks she can fly where the rest of us cannot. How typical. I did not say that. Hana kept her voice level. I am saying there might be another way. There is no other way. Vale shut down the hologram. We follow proven tactics. We use standard doctrine. I will not risk my squadron on human recklessness. We launch in 6 hours. Prepare your fighters, dismissed. The other pilots left quickly. Hana remained standing there, staring at the empty space where the hologram had been. She wanted to argue. She wanted to make Vale understand. But she knew it was useless. He had already made up his mind. She went to the hangar and began pre-flight checks on her fighter. Her hands moved automatically through the familiar routine. Check fuel levels. Test weapon systems. Verify shield generators. Everything was perfect. Her fighter was ready to die. Lieutenant Kim. Hana turned. A man stood behind her. He was human. Older than her. Maybe in his mid-30s. He wore the uniform of a pilot, but not from Talon Squadron. I am June Park. He held out his hand. I fly with Sword Squadron. Hana shook his hand. Nice to meet you. I heard you suggest an alternate approach to Vale. June's eyes were serious. I heard him shut you down. Word travels fast. It does when humans are involved. June glanced around to make sure they were alone. Can I give you some advice? Sure. They will never listen to you. June's voice was bitter. I have been flying for the Federation for 8 years. 8 years. I have 16 confirmed kills. I have saved my squadron more times than I can count. And they still treat me like a rookie. What happened? 6 months ago, my team was assigned to raid a Rex supply depot. I saw problems with the plan. I told my commander. He ignored me. We went in following standard doctrine. It was a trap. My entire team died. All of them. I only survived because my fighter was damaged early and I fell out of formation. Hana felt her stomach twist. I am sorry. The point is this. When they do not respect you, they do not listen. And when they do not listen, people die. June looked at her fighter. Your alternate route was good. I saw the tactical breakdown. It would work. But Val will never admit that. He would rather die following the rulebook than live by trusting a human. So what do? You survive. June put his hand on her shoulder. You follow orders. You stay alive. And you wait for the moment when following orders will get everyone killed. That moment will come. It always does. And when it comes, you will have to choose. Choose what? Whether to let them die because they would not listen, or to save them even though they do not deserve it. June walked away, leaving Hana alone with her thoughts. She climbed into her cockpit and sat in the darkness. Outside, she could hear the sounds of the hangar. Crew members shouting, equipment moving. Other pilots preparing for the mission. She thought about the 3 squadrons that had already died. Good pilots. Experienced warriors. All of them gone because they followed the plan. She thought about June's words. About the choice she would have to make. She thought about the mission ahead. About Helios Station and the Vrex waiting in the darkness. About the narrow gaps in the debris field that could save them or kill them. And she thought about Wing Commander Vale, who would rather die than admit a human might be right. 6 hours until launch. 6 hours until everything changed. The launch bay was quiet. Too quiet. Hana sat in her cockpit running through final system checks. Her hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. Fuel at maximum. Weapons charged. Shields at full power. Everything was green. Everything was ready. All pilots report status. Vale's voice came through the comm system. Rick's ready. Tess ready. Dorn ready. Kim ready. Hana took a deep breath. Launch sequence initiated. Stand by. The bay doors opened slowly. Beyond them was the black void of space scattered with distant stars. The debris field was 300 kilometers ahead. From here it looked like a glowing cloud. Beautiful and deadly. Talon Squadron launch. The 5 fighters lifted smoothly from the deck and accelerated into space. They formed up in standard Federation pattern. Vale at the point. Rix and Thess on the wings. Dorn in center. Hana at the rear. The formation was tight and precise. Exactly by the book. They flew toward the debris field in silence. Hana watched her scanner. The field was enormous. Millions of pieces of wreckage from battles fought decades ago. Some pieces were small. Others were the size of houses. All of them were moving, spinning and tumbling in the darkness, approaching entry point. Vale's voice was calm. Maintain formation. Reduce speed to 1/4 thrust. Follow my lead exactly. The squadron slowed. They entered the debris field like ships entering a harbor. Careful, controlled, safe. A large piece of twisted metal drifted past. It had once been part of a ship. Now it was just another obstacle. Scanner contact. Tess's voice was sharp. Multiple objects ahead. Distance 2 kilometers confirmed, Dorn responded, reading as debris. No power signatures, continue on course, Vol ordered. They moved deeper into the field. The debris grew thicker. Hana had to adjust course several times to avoid collisions. But the movements were small, easy. The corridor they were following was wide enough for comfortable flight. That was the problem. It was too comfortable, too easy. The Vrex would know that. Hana checked her tactical display. They were following Vector 3 exactly as planned. The same route the second squadron had used. Her eyes tracked to the coordinates where the ambush had happened before. They were getting close. Very close, sir. Hana kept her voice steady. Approaching the ambush coordinates from the previous attempt. I am aware, Lieutenant. Stay in formation. Hana's fingers tightened on the controls. Every instinct she had was screaming danger. This was wrong. They were flying into a trap. But she had her orders. She had to follow them. The squadron moved forward. 1 kilometer to the ambush point. 500 meters. 300. Nothing happened. Maybe she was wrong. Maybe the Vrex had moved their forces. Maybe the route was clear after all. Hana started to relax. Then the universe exploded. Mines. Dorn's shout came too late. The debris around them lit up with detonations. Hidden mines that had been disguised as wreckage activated all at once. Electromagnetic pulses rippled through space. Hana's shield indicators flashed red. Her targeting computer went dark. Break formation. Val's comm was gone. Evasive maneuvers. But before anyone could react, the second wave hit. Vrex interceptors came screaming out of the debris field. They had been hiding, waiting. 12 enemy fighters against 5 taking fire. Rix's voice was strained. His fighter rolled hard trying to dodge, but a Vrex plasma bolt caught his engine. Fire bloomed along his hull. Shields failing, engines at 30%. This moved to protect him. Her fighter was quick and graceful even in the chaos. But 3 Vrex locked onto her. She twisted and turned, but there were too many. A missile struck her weapon systems. No weapons. Repeat, I have no weapons. Dorn tried to get a targeting solution, but his computer was still rebooting from the EMP. I cannot lock on. Systems are scrambled. More Vrex fighters were coming. They poured out of hiding spots in the debris like insects from a nest. The trap had been perfect. The Federation squadron was exactly where the Vrex wanted them. Damaged, confused, surrounded. Vol's fighter took a hit. The blast tore through his port side. Warning alarms filled his cockpit. His flight control system sparked and died. Hull breach. Life support failing. His voice was weak now. Barely a whisper. Retreat. All ships retreat. But there was nowhere to retreat to. The Vrex had them boxed in. Behind them, more enemies appeared, cutting off escape. The squadron was trapped in a killing box. Hana watched it all happen in seconds. Her squadron was dying. Commander Rix limping on damaged engines. Pilot Thess defenseless without weapons. Dorn flying blind without targeting. And Vale bleeding out in a crippled fighter. 3 Vrex fighters turned toward Vale. They moved in slowly, taking their time. They knew he could not escape. This was an execution. Hana's mind raced. She had seconds to act, maybe less. The rulebook said maintain position. The rulebook said wait for orders. The rulebook said do not break formation. The rulebook was going to get everyone killed. She thought about June Park's words. About the choice she would have to make. Save them or let them die. It was not really a choice at all. Hana slammed her thrusters to maximum. Her fighter leaped forward, accelerating hard. She did not ask permission. She did not wait for orders. She just moved. Kim, what are you doing? Rix's shout came through the comm. Hana did not answer. She was too busy flying. She angled her fighter down and dove into the debris field. Not around it, into it. Where the pieces were smallest and packed closest together. She was going where no Federation pilot would dare to go. A chunk of metal the size of a car spun toward her. Hana rolled left. The debris passed so close it scraped her shields. Another piece came from above. She dove under it. Her fighter was moving faster than safety protocols allowed. The proximity alarms were screaming. She ignored them all. Ahead, she could see the 3 Vrex fighters closing on Val. They were focused on their target. They did not see her coming. Hana cut through a gap between 2 large debris pieces. The clearance was less than 2 meters on each side. Her fighter threaded through like a needle through cloth. She came out behind the Vrex fighters at point-blank range. Her targeting computer was still half scrambled, but she did not need it. This close, she could not miss. She fired. Her plasma cannons lit up the darkness. The first Vrex fighter exploded. The second tried to turn, but Hana was already firing again. It came apart in a ball of flame. The third enemy started to run. Hana launched a missile. It streaked through space and caught the Vrex fighter in the engines. Debris scattered in all directions. Val was safe. For now. But 8 Vrex fighters remained. They had seen her now. They were turning. Coming for her. 8 against 1. Hana checked her weapons. Full charge. Shields were at 70% from scraping the debris. It would have to be enough. The Vrex came at her in 2 groups of 4. Professional, coordinated. They were good pilots. But they were predictable. They flew like they had been trained. Like they followed a manual. Hana did not have a manual. She had instinct and desperation, and 3 years of practicing maneuvers that the Federation said were impossible. She dove back into the debris field. The Vrex followed. They thought they were chasing her. They thought they had her trapped. They were wrong. Hana flew through gaps that should not exist. She used chunks of wreckage as shields. She bounced her fighter off the magnetic fields of metal fragments to change direction without using thrusters. Every move was calculated in a fraction of a second. Every decision made on pure instinct. Behind her, the Vrex tried to follow, but they could not match her. They flew cautiously. They maintained safe distances. They followed their training. One Vrex pilot got too close to a spinning piece of hull plating. The debris clipped his wing. His fighter spun out of control and crashed into an asteroid. 7 left. Hana saw her chance. Ahead was a cluster of debris spinning around a large central chunk. She flew straight at it. The Vrex followed. They thought she was cornered. They thought she had made a mistake. At the last second, Hana cut all power. Her fighter went dark and silent. Momentum carried her forward. She drifted past the large debris piece and disappeared behind it. The Vrex fighters roared past. They were looking for her, scanning, searching. They could not find her. Hana waited. 3 seconds, 4, 5. Then she reignited her engines at full power. She came around the debris piece from behind. The Vrex were right in front of her. Their backs exposed, she fired everything. Plasma cannons, missiles, even her secondary guns. The space ahead of her became a wall of fire. 3 Vrex fighters exploded before they knew what hit them. A 4th took critical damage and limped away trailing smoke. 3 left. The remaining Vrex broke formation and ran. They had lost half their force. They wanted no more of this fight. Hana let them go. She had more important concerns. Status report. She called out to her squadron. Rick's here. Engines stabilizing. I can fly this. Responding. Weapons still offline, but I am mobile. Dorn checking in. Computers are back online. There was silence. Then Vale's weak voice came through. Still alive, barely. I need medical assistance immediately. Hana checked her scanner. The path ahead was clear for now. But reinforcements would be coming. They had minutes at best. She looked toward Helios Station. It glowed in the distance. The mission objective. The intelligence they needed. Standard doctrine said abort. Get the wounded to safety. Try again another day. But Hana saw something the others did not. Something her human eyes and human brain understood. Hana stared at Helios Station through her viewport. The massive structure hung in space like a fortress. Weapon turrets lined its surface. Normally, patrol ships would be circling it in tight defensive patterns. But right now, those patrol ships were scattered. Some were destroyed. Others were regrouping after the ambush. The station was exposed. She pulled up the tactical data on her screen. The Vrex would realize their mistake soon. Reinforcements would arrive. Maybe in 2 minutes. Maybe less. But right now there was a gap in their defenses. A weakness. An opportunity. Kim, what are you doing? Rix's voice came through the comm. We need to retreat. Get the commander to medical. Hana looked at her scanner. At her damaged squadron. At Vale bleeding in his crippled fighter. The smart move was to run. The safe move. The move that followed every rule in the Federation manual. But running meant the mission failed. It meant 3 squadrons had died for nothing. It meant the Vrex would decode the intelligence and use it to crush the Federation. It meant more people would die. Thousands of people, maybe millions, listened to me. Hana's voice was calm. The station defenses are down. This is our only chance. Are you insane? Rick shouted, look at us. We are half dead. The commander needs help now, I know. Hana checked her fuel levels. Her weapons charge. She had enough, barely. I can do this. I can get to the intelligence vault and extract. But I need you to trust me. There was silence on the comm. Hana could imagine the others looking at each other, wondering if the human had lost her mind, wondering if they should stop her. Then Val's voice came through. Weak and full of pain, show me your approach vector. Hana quickly plotted a course on her tactical computer. She transmitted it to the squadron. The route was insane. It went straight through the debris field using gaps barely wider than her fighter. It approached the station from below where the turret coverage was weakest. It required flying speeds that would tear most ships apart. It required timing that allowed zero room for error. The tactical computer says this is impossible. Dorn's voice was quiet. The probability of success is less than 3%. I am not a computer. Hana fired her thrusters and began moving toward the station. I am human. We do not care about probability, Kim. Wait. Vale's voice stopped her. If you do this, you are disobeying direct orders. I told you to retreat, yes, sir. If you fail, you will die. The rest of us will die. The mission will fail, I know, sir. There was a long pause. Hana waited. Her fighter drifted in space. She could still turn back. She could still follow orders, be safe. Be smart, but she had not joined the military to be safe. Your plan is reckless. Vale's voice was stronger now. It violates every protocol. It goes against everything I have taught. But I have watched you fly. I have seen what you can do. My tactical computer confirms your vector could work. If anyone can fly it, a human can. Execute your plan, Lieutenant. That is an order. Hana felt something warm spread through her chest. It was not trust, not yet, but it was permission. It was a chance, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Get the rest of us to cover. Val ordered the others. Find debris large enough to hide behind. Protect yourselves until Kim completes the mission or dies trying. Hana did not wait. She pushed her thrusters to maximum and dove back into the debris field. Behind her, she heard Rix guiding Vale to safety. Thess and Dorn followed. They were out of the fight. It was all on her now. The debris rushed past. Hana's hands moved across the controls like she was playing an instrument. Roll left, climb, dive right. Her fighter twisted and turned through impossible spaces. Pieces of wreckage spun past close enough to touch. A chunk of hull plating tumbled toward her. Hana angled her fighter vertical and slipped past it. Another piece came from her left. She used a burst from her thrusters to slide right. The debris missed by centimeters. Her proximity alarms were screaming constantly. She shut them off. They were just noise, distraction. She did not need alarms to tell her she was too close to death. She could feel it. She could sense it. This was what humans were good at. Not being stronger, not being faster, but adapting, improvising, seeing patterns that computers could not calculate, making decisions in milliseconds based on instinct and experience and pure stubborn will. Ahead, the debris began to thin. Hana was through the worst of it. The station loomed larger. She could see the turrets now. Rows and rows of automated weapons. They were tracking, searching, looking for targets. Hana cut her engines and went silent. Her fighter drifted on momentum alone. She was just another piece of debris now, silent and cold. The turrets swept past her. Their sensors looked right at her. But without engine signature or power output, she was invisible. She drifted closer. The station grew until it filled her viewport. She could see the hull plating, the docking ports, the weapon emplacements. She counted seconds in her head, waiting for the right moment. A patrol ship appeared around the far side of the station. It was alone, probably sent to investigate the ambush site. It had not seen her yet. But it would soon, Hana waited. 3 more seconds, 2, 1. She reignited her engines at full power. Her fighter shot forward like a missile. The sudden acceleration pressed her back into her seat. The G-forces made her vision narrow. She ignored the discomfort. She had work to do. The turrets reacted instantly. They spun toward her and opened fire. Plasma bolts filled the space around her. Hana jinked left then right. She climbed and dove. She flew in patterns that had no pattern. Random, chaotic, impossible to predict. The turrets fired where she had been, where she should be, where logic said she would go. But Hana was not logical. She was human. She went where instinct told her, where feeling guided her. A plasma bolt grazed her shields. Another came so close she felt the heat through the hull. But none of them hit clean. She was too fast, too unpredictable, too alive. The patrol ship had seen her now. It turned and accelerated. The pilot was good. He matched her speed and trajectory. His weapons locked on. Hana saw the missile launch indicator light up on her screen. She had seconds to act. The missile was fast, guided. It would track her no matter where she went. Running was not an option, so Hana did something else. She flew straight at the station, at full speed, directly toward the hull. The missile followed. So did the patrol ship. They thought she was going to crash. Thought she had panicked. They were wrong. At the last possible second, Hana rolled her fighter parallel to the hull. She was so close she could have reached out and touched the metal. She flew along the surface, upside down, meters from impact. The missile tried to follow, but it was not agile enough. It could not make the turn. It slammed into the station hull and exploded. The patrol ship pulled up. The pilot was smart enough not to follow, but that put him above her, exposed. Hana rolled back over and fired. Her plasma cannons caught the patrol ship in the belly. It exploded in a shower of debris. Now for the hard part. Hana pulled up targeting data on the station. She needed to find the power core regulator. It was deep inside the structure. Protected. She would have to shoot through multiple layers of hull plating, thread a missile through narrow maintenance shafts, hit a target the size of a basketball from outside the station while flying at combat speed and dodging turret fire. The Federation tactical computers rated this shot as impossible. 0% success probability. Too many variables. Too much precision required. But Hana had practiced shots like this. In simulators. In her head. 1,000 times. She knew her fighter. She knew her weapons. She knew what she was capable of. She lined up the shot. The targeting reticle danced across her screen. The turrets were still firing. Plasma bolts streaked past on all sides. She had seconds before reinforcements arrived. Seconds before the window closed, Hana took a breath. Let it out slowly. The universe seemed to slow down. She could see the path the missile needed to take. Through the hull breach from the earlier explosion, down the maintenance shaft, left at the junction, through the power conduit, into the regulator chamber she fired. The missile launched. It streaked toward the station. Hana held her breath. The missile hit the hull breach perfectly. It disappeared inside. For a moment nothing happened. Then the station went dark. Every light, every turret, every system, all of it shut down at once. Hana had hit the power core regulator. Not destroyed it. Just disabled it. The station was alive but helpless. Emergency power will kick in soon. Dorn's voice came through the comm. You have 40 seconds. Maybe less. Hana was already moving. She brought her fighter around to the intelligence vault. The massive doors were sealed, but without power they could not resist. She fired her plasma cannons at low power. The doors glowed red, then orange, then white. They melted. Hana guided her fighter through the breach. The vault was dark inside. She activated her forward lights. They cut through the shadows, revealing rows of data storage units. She found the primary intelligence core, a cylinder the size of her arm glowing with stored information. She extended her fighter's cargo arm. The mechanical hand grabbed the core and pulled it free. Alarms began to sound. Emergency power was coming back online. The backup systems were booting up. Hana reversed thrust and backed out of the vault. The lights were returning to the station. Turrets were powering up. She had seconds. She spun her fighter and accelerated. The same way she came in. Through the debris field. Through the impossible gaps. The medical bay was clean and bright and full of activity. Hana sat on a bench outside the treatment rooms watching doctors and nurses move back and forth. Through the transparent doors she could see Wing Commander Val lying on a medical bed. Machines surrounded him. His blue skin looked pale, but he was alive. They were all alive. Against every possible odd they had survived. Hana looked down at her hands. They were steady now. During the flight back they had been shaking so badly she could barely hold the controls. The adrenaline had worn off. Reality had set in. She had just done something that should have been impossible. Lieutenant Kim. Hana looked up. A woman stood before her. She was human, young, maybe 25. She wore the uniform of Federation intelligence with the rank insignia of a lieutenant. Her name tag read, Lee, I am Minji Lee. The woman held out her hand. I have been assigned to debrief you about the mission. Hana shook her hand and stood. Of course. When do we start? Actually, I am here about something else. Minji glanced around, then lowered her voice. I have been reviewing the combat recordings from your mission. All Federation fighters record everything during operations. Video, audio, flight data. All of it standard procedure. Hana nodded. Is there a problem? Minji looked at her with an expression Hana could not quite read. A problem? No, but I need you to come with me. There is someone who needs to see what you did. Who? Captain Daeho Shin. He is the head of Federation Tactical Analysis Division. He reviews combat footage from across the entire military. When I showed him your recordings, he stopped everything he was doing. He wants to meet you. Hana followed Minji through the corridors of the command ship. They passed other soldiers who stared at her. Some whispered to each other. Word had already spread about the mission, about the human pilot who had done the impossible. They reached a large office near the command center. The door opened automatically. Inside was a man sitting behind a desk covered with holographic displays. He was human, older, maybe 50. His hair was gray at the temples. His face was lined with the marks of long experience. Captain Shin. Minji stood at attention. This is Lieutenant Hana Kim. The man looked up. His eyes were sharp and intelligent. He studied Hana for a long moment. Then he stood and walked around the desk. He was tall. His uniform was perfectly pressed. His movements precise, Lieutenant Kim. His voice was deep and calm. Sit down, please. We have much to discuss. Hana sat in the chair facing his desk. Minji remained standing by the door. Captain Shin returned to his seat. He touched a control and the holographic displays changed. Now they showed frozen images from the combat footage. Hana recognized her own fighter. The debris field. The station. I have been analyzing combat recordings for 30 years. Captain Shin leaned back in his chair. I have watched thousands of missions, seen every kind of pilot from every species in the Federation. I thought I had seen everything that was possible in a fighter. He paused and looked directly at Hana. I was wrong. Captain Shin touched another control. The holographic display came to life. It showed the moment Hana had broken formation during the ambush. The view was from Rix's fighter camera. It showed her diving into the debris field at full speed. This maneuver. Captain Shin pointed at the image. You accelerated into debris that was moving at unpredictable vectors. You threaded through gaps that were narrower than safety protocols allow. You did it without computer assistance because your systems were damaged. How Hana thought about how to answer. I saw the path. I knew my fighter could fit. I trusted my instincts, your instincts. Captain Shin replayed the sequence. Your instincts told you to fly through a space that was 2.7 meters wide. Your fighter is 3.2 meters wide with shields active. I compressed my shields. The forward and rear shields can be reduced to extend the side shields. It creates an oval profile instead of a sphere. I learned that in the technical manual. The technical manual says that maneuver is for emergency docking procedures only, not for combat flight through debris fields. Captain Shin's expression did not change, but there was something in his eyes. Respect, maybe, or curiosity. You took a docking procedure and adapted it for combat in the middle of a firefight. It seemed like the logical choice, sir. Captain Shin smiled. Slightly. Logical? Yes. Let me show you something else. The display changed again. Now it showed the moment Hana had destroyed the 3 Vrex fighters that were closing on Val. The sequence played in slow motion. Hana watched herself thread through the debris, emerge behind the enemy, fire 3 times, 3 kills in 4 seconds. 17 evasive maneuvers in this sequence. Captain Shin froze the image. Each one exceeded the theoretical stress limits of your fighter. Your tactical computer should have prevented these maneuvers. It is programmed to stop pilots from damaging their own ships. I overrode the safety protocols. When? Before the mission launched. I knew we might need every advantage, so I disabled the limiters. Captain Shin was quiet for a moment. That is against regulations, yes, sir. Hana met his eyes. I apologize. I will accept whatever disciplinary action is appropriate. Lieutenant Lee. Captain Shin looked at Minji. Make a note that all human pilots should be trained in safety protocol override procedures. If they are going to do it anyway, they should at least know how to do it properly. Minji tried to hide a smile. Yes, sir, noted. The display changed again. Now it showed the approach to Helios Station. Hana flying silent through the turret field. The sudden acceleration. The impossible dodging pattern. The shot that disabled the power core. This shot. Captain Shin zoomed in on the missile trajectory. You fired a guided missile through a hull breach. The missile traveled 230 meters through maintenance shafts, making 4 course corrections. It struck a target 7 centimeters in diameter while you were traveling at combat speed and evading defensive fire. Yes, sir. The targeting computer rates this shot as having 0 probability of success. How did you make it? I did not use the targeting computer. I calculated the trajectory manually in your head, while dodging plasma fire. Yes, sir. Captain Shin sat back in his chair. He was quiet for a long time. Finally he spoke. Do you understand what you have done, Lieutenant? Do you comprehend the significance of this mission? We retrieved the intelligence core, sir. The mission was successful. It is more than that. Captain Shin stood and began pacing. The Federation military is built on doctrine, on proven tactics, on centuries of accumulated knowledge from dozens of species. We have rules for everything, procedures, protocols. We follow them because they work, because they keep soldiers alive. He stopped and looked at Hana. But doctrine has a weakness. It is predictable. The Vreks knew exactly what we would do, because we always do the same thing. They ambushed 3 squadrons using that knowledge. They would have destroyed your squadron too. Except for you, I just did what needed to be done, sir. No. Captain Shin shook his head. You did something we have forgotten how to do. You adapted. You improvised. You broke every rule in the book because the book was going to get you killed. And you were right. He returned to his desk and pulled up more footage. This time it showed all of Hana's combat footage from multiple angles. Every maneuver, every decision, every impossible moment. I have spent the last 6 hours analyzing this footage with the best tactical minds in the Federation. We have identified 13 separate maneuvers that should not be possible, 8 decisions that were made faster than our computers can process, 5 tactical innovations that do not exist in any combat manual. Captain Shin looked at Hana with an expression she had never seen before. Not from a superior officer, it was awe. You did in 30 minutes what military strategists spend years trying to achieve. You showed us something we did not know was possible, and you did it all while being dismissed and doubted and told you were not good enough. I had help, sir. My squadron, your squadron, was crippled. Wing Commander Vale was unconscious through most of your assault on the station. Commander Rix and the others were hiding in debris, trying not to die. You did this alone. Hana did not know what to say. She had just been trying to complete the mission, to save her team. She had not thought about strategy or innovation or changing military doctrine. Lieutenant Lee. Captain Shin turned to Minji. Prepare this footage for presentation to Fleet Command. All of it, every angle. I want detailed analysis of each maneuver with technical breakdowns, sir. Minji stepped forward. If I may. This footage is going to change everything. When the other species see what a human pilot can do. Exactly. Captain Shin nodded. That is why it must be presented properly. No bias, no embellishment. Just the facts. Let the footage speak for itself. He looked back at Hana. Lieutenant Kim, you are dismissed. Return to your quarters and rest. You will be called for a formal debriefing tomorrow. And Lieutenant, yes, sir. What you did today will be studied by military academies for generations. You did not just complete a mission. You proved something that many in the Federation doubted. You proved that humans belong here, that we have something unique to offer, that our way of thinking has value. Hana felt her throat tighten. She had spent so long being dismissed, being told she was not good enough, being treated like a liability. And now this. Thank you, sir. Do not thank me. Captain Shin smiled. Thank yourself. You earned this. Now go rest. You have had a very long day. 3 months had passed since Helios Station. 3 months that had changed everything. Hana stood in the corridor outside the Grand Assembly Hall. Through the massive doors she could hear voices. Hundreds of them. The hall was filled with officers from across the Federation. Velkari commanders, Quellan strategists, Kryn analysts, and humans. More humans than Hana had ever seen in one military gathering. They were all here for the same reason. To watch the footage. To see what she had done. Are you nervous? Minji Lee stood beside her. She had been assigned as Hana's liaison officer. Basically, that meant she made sure Hana got to meetings on time, and did not get overwhelmed by all the attention. Terrified, Hana admitted. What if they think it was luck? What if they think I just got lucky? Minji laughed softly. Hana, they have watched that footage 100 times. Every military analyst in the Federation has studied it. Trust me, nobody thinks it was luck. The doors opened. Captain Daeho Shin emerged. He was wearing his formal uniform. Medals covered his chest. He looked tired but satisfied. Lieutenant Kim. He nodded to Hana. They are ready for you. Hana took a deep breath and walked through the doors. The Grand Assembly Hall was enormous. Rows of seats rose up on all sides like an arena. Every seat was filled. Thousands of eyes turned to look at her as she entered. At the front of the hall was a stage. A podium stood in the center. Behind it was the largest holographic display Hana had ever seen. It currently showed the Federation symbol, a circle of stars representing the unity of many species. Hana walked down the aisle toward the stage. Her boots echoed on the polished floor. She kept her eyes forward. If she looked at the crowd, she knew she would freeze. So she focused on the stage. On putting one foot in front of the other, she climbed the steps and stood beside the podium. Captain Shin was already there. So was Fleet Admiral Kess. The old Velkari warrior looked at Hana with an expression she could not quite read. Respect, maybe, or curiosity. Officers of the Federation. Admiral Kess's voice boomed through the hall. 3 months ago, Talon Squadron was assigned to infiltrate Helios Station. 3 squadrons before them had failed. Total casualties. The mission was rated as nearly impossible. Success probability was calculated at less than 5%. The hall was silent. Everyone knew this story, but hearing it from the Fleet Admiral made it more real somehow. Talon Squadron succeeded. Admiral Kess continued. They retrieved the intelligence core. That intelligence has already provided critical tactical advantages in our war against the Vrex Collective, but the success came at great cost. The squadron was ambushed, heavily damaged. Their commander was gravely injured. The Admiral paused and looked at Hana. The mission should have failed. By every tactical analysis, it should have been a disaster. But one pilot refused to accept defeat. One pilot made decisions that changed the course of the battle. That pilot is standing before you now. Lieutenant Hana Kim. Polite applause rippled through the hall. Hana stood at attention. Her face felt hot. Today we will show you footage from that mission. Admiral Kess gestured to the massive display. This footage has been analyzed by our best tactical minds. It has been studied by combat instructors across the Federation. What you are about to see represents a new understanding of what is possible in combat operations. The lights dimmed. The holographic display came to life. It showed space, the debris field, 5 fighters in perfect formation approaching. Hana watched her own mission play out. The ambush, the explosions, Vale's fighter taking critical damage, the squadron falling apart, and then her decision. Her choice to break formation and dive into the debris. The footage played from multiple angles. From her cockpit camera, from Rix's fighter, from Dorn's, from external sensor recordings. Every impossible maneuver was captured in perfect detail. The hall was absolutely silent. Hana heard someone gasp when she threaded through the gap that was narrower than her fighter. Heard whispers when she destroyed 3 Vrex fighters in 4 seconds. Heard shocked exclamations when she flew upside down along the station hull, and when the footage showed her final shot. The impossible missile trajectory through the maintenance shafts. The perfect strike on the power core regulator. The hall erupted. It was not applause, not yet. It was shock, disbelief, awe. The footage continued. It showed her extracting the intelligence core. Her escape through the debris field. The squadron regrouping. The flight back to Federation space. When the footage ended, the lights came back up. The hall was still silent. Thousands of officers sat motionless, processing what they had seen. Captain Shin stepped to the podium. His voice was calm and professional. As head of tactical analysis, I have reviewed this footage extensively. I have run simulations, consulted with experts from every species. The conclusion is unanimous. What Lieutenant Kim accomplished should not have been possible. He paused and looked out at the audience. But it was possible. Because Lieutenant Kim did something we have forgotten how to value. She adapted. In real time. Under extreme pressure. She made decisions faster than our computers could calculate. She saw solutions that our tactical doctrine said did not exist. Captain Shin pulled up additional data on the display. Technical readouts. Trajectory calculations. Stress analysis. 17 maneuvers exceeded the rated capabilities of her fighter. 13 targeting solutions were calculated manually without computer assistance. 8 tactical decisions were made in less than 1 second. And all of it was done while under heavy fire in a combat environment rated as lethal. He looked directly at Hana. This is not luck. This is not recklessness. This is a different way of thinking. A way that humanity has developed through millions of years of evolution. The ability to improvise, to adapt, to create solutions that have never existed before. The hall remained quiet. But Hana could see expressions changing. The Velkari officers who had looked skeptical now looked thoughtful. The Quellan pilots were leaning forward in their seats. Even the Kryn strategists with their superior intellect looked impressed. Wing Commander Val stood from his seat near the front. His injuries had healed. He looked strong again, healthy. He walked to the stage slowly. When he reached the podium, he turned to face Hana, Lieutenant Kim. His deep voice carried through the hall. When you were assigned to my squadron, I did not want you there. I thought you were a liability. I thought humans lacked the discipline for elite combat operations. He paused. The hall was so quiet Hana could hear her own heartbeat. I was wrong. Vale's voice was firm. I was prejudiced. I judged you based on assumptions instead of capability. My prejudice nearly killed my entire squadron. Your skill saved us all. Val did something Hana never expected. He bowed. A formal Velkari bow of respect, deep and meaningful. I apologize for my treatment of you. I apologize for dismissing your suggestions. I apologize for not seeing your value until it was almost too late. You are the finest pilot I have ever served with. It is an honor to have you in my squadron. Hana felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back. This was not the time. Not here in front of thousands of people. Thank you, sir. Her voice was steady. I was just doing my job. No. Admiral Kess stepped forward. You did much more than your job. You showed us our own blindness. For too long we have relied on proven methods, on established doctrine, on the idea that if something has worked before it will work again. The Admiral looked out at the assembled officers. But wars are not won by doing what is expected. They are won by adaptation, by innovation, by seeing opportunities that others miss. Humanity has brought this capability to the Federation, and we have been too blind to appreciate it. Admiral Kess turned back to Hana. Effective immediately, you are promoted to captain. You will be transferred to the Federation Military Academy as a senior combat instructor. Your primary duty will be to teach other pilots what you have demonstrated, how to think beyond doctrine, how to adapt under pressure, how to survive when the plan fails. The hall erupted in applause, real applause this time, loud and sustained. Hana stood there overwhelmed. Captain, instructor, teaching others. She had never imagined this. Furthermore, Admiral Kess raised his hand for silence. The Adaptive Combat Program is now officially established. This program will integrate human tactical flexibility into Federation doctrine across all branches. Captain Daeho Shin will oversee the program, and several human officers, including Captain Kim, will serve as primary instructors. More applause. Hana saw other human officers in the audience standing. Their faces showed pride, relief, validation. For so long they had struggled to be accepted. Now doors were opening. One more thing. Admiral Kess smiled slightly. Wing Commander Vale has requested that Captain Kim remain assigned to Talon Squadron. He states that he needs someone who can think differently. Someone who will question his decisions when questioning is needed. I have approved this request. Captain Kim, you will serve dual roles, instructor and active combat pilot. Hana looked at Val. The big Velkari warrior nodded to her. There was respect in his eyes now. Real respect, earned through action. Captain Kim. Admiral Kess extended his hand. Congratulations. You have earned this recognition many times over. Hana shook his hand. Thank you, sir. I will do my best to live up to this honor. Your best is exceptional. The Admiral smiled. That is why you are here. The ceremony continued for another hour.